Welcome to Door Monster's Tiny Table, where we sit around at a tiny table and we talk about Door Monster. Today we or whatever happens to happen.
Yeah.
Today we rewatched Ghost Finders, an old video that still always makes it onto our favorites list.
Mm-hmm. It's a cult classic.
Yes.
It's one of my favorites. It always has been. It's just really good.
It was a really fun experience to like be on set for, and then also just turned out really good. I think it was like the first time we ever imitated like another format. Mm-hmm. Also,
really, the first time.
Yeah. Before that, they were just comedy sketch style. I hadn't like tried to imitate like an existing TV show or anything like that. And I still really haven't watched any of those, like any of those kinds of shows, like Ghost Adventures or anything.
How did you get the idea then? I thought you watched an episode of Ghost Adventures.
It must have been your idea.
I don't remember where I got the idea, actually. I don't remember what sparked it. I remember like immediately after where it came from, because I asked you if you wanted to be in it, and you were like, yeah, I actually watch those shows all the time. And then JP was also into ghosts, so it was like a good like pairing for it. And then I watched some of one for the script, because a lot of the things you say are just verbatim lines from the show that I just ripped out. Mm-hmm. But I think that's about all I've watched of it, is the research for that video.
Yeah. It was a beautiful thing, because it's not, I don't just watch ghost shows. I don't like ghost shows. I like Ghost Adventures.
That one specifically.
With the people in the know will know, Ghost Adventures is a beautiful work of art. It's unlike it. I'm going to sound ridiculous. No one ever believes me when I say this. They're like, "Oh, it's a ghost show. It's a work of art." It truly is. Early seasons of Ghost Adventures is like some prime.
I don't know if I've seen it.
It's incredible. It's what
makes it different?
The cast of characters. All right, Ghost Adventures. The leader, Zach Baggins. He's from Las Vegas. You can tell he was just bullied mercilessly as a child, and overcompensates. He's just like jacked as hell, but like an incredible nerd. Just a dork who thinks he's way cooler than he is, but like in a sweet way. You just want to hold him and tell him it's going to be okay. And he just wears these massive baggy pants. So Zach Baggy Pants was what one of my ex-girlfriends called him. I laughed for like 20 minutes. Zach Baggy Pants. He wears like, the Ed Hardy shirts, Affliction shirts.
Very 2005
like very 2005. Still probably wears them to this day. Big glasses. And his grasp of the English language is very interesting.
Yeah.
Like every episode has at least one Zach Bagganism where I can't even explain it. He'll just
amazing
use it. We're like clearly, and also there's clearly no producers involved. It was like they probably made a pilot by themselves. And then Travel Channel was like, yeah, we'll give you like $20,000 an episode or whatever. Just like, yeah, we don't care. Go make this. And like they edit it themselves.
Wow.
Like they'll be like, all right, we're about to go do this. And they fist bump each other. Then they zoom in on the fist bump and there's a sound effect like Tim and Eric style.
Oh, yes.
And it's like no one is paying attention to these people. They're paying attention to them now. If you watch a modern episode, it's kind of lame. But go to the early seasons of Ghost Adventures. It's some of the best television ever created. It's modern art.
Okay, we should watch that.
I should. Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
It's incredible.
You're only like 10 years too late from your own video, so.
Yeah, that's on track for me.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Yeah, we had fun. We would watch them at sleepovers, and we'd like start out the night laughing at Zach Baggins being funny, and then like it would slowly just get silent, and then we'd all become actually scared about the ghosts, and we realized that we were all kind of spooked. We were children, but still.
You matched his energy perfectly from the little bit that I did see.
I love Zach Baggins.
It was honestly kind of an accident that I picked you because I knew I wanted to make it like kind of the awkward realistic style, which you were good at, which is why we had you play Venice before that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, it was just extra bonus that you also were intimately familiar with imitating this specific person.
I love it so much.
I wasn't on set. I don't think I even knew you at that time.
No, I don't think so. That was still before we were spending any time together.
I mean, but just watching it, you did a bunch of different things in that video that you don't do in other videos. Yeah. The first thing I noticed was that you leaned the camera to reveal JP.
I know. Yeah, it's one of my favorite shots.
You've never. You don't do that very much.
Which sucks because that's really like I've only ever wanted to recreate that exact video ever since it happened, and I just haven't for some reason. I probably should have.
But when I was rewatching it like as an editor, and there's like a lot of like some minute-long uncut shots of me just talking or me and JP going back and forth. And if we were editing that now, I'm certain we would like punch in and cut out the pauses.
That's a good point.
And I wonder if we've just been poisoned by the internet like vlog cutting since then, or if we're just like in our heads about it.
It has to change every 3 seconds or it feels like it's dragging on too long.
Exactly.
I definitely do that all the time now. But no, yeah, I remember you guys actually like learned the lines and tried that. Like it's like 3 long takes.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then like some intercut like transition footage.
Yeah, they were actually like acting together. It doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah.
No talking heads. I mean, except
No.
for like the one at the
The
very
very end
but-
turns back into like a Door Monster sketch for like half a second, and then
Yeah,
the
but
rest of
otherwise
it's-
they're actually like doing the lines together.
Yeah.
And not laughing, which is amazing because I would have cracked up at
And
most of those lines. The
we-
Hitler line is
we actually
so good.
so I think
Holocaust.
we mentioned our,
Holocaust line.
our
yeah,
uh,
Holocaust.
we mentioned our like lights with the power of the sun last time. The lights that can catch things on fire. You're holding one in this video.
Yeah. One of those-
the
God,
the
those got
ghost
hot.
device that you're holding is like one that we weren't using.
It doesn't look like a light. It's a perfect
no, I know.
thing.
It's a
Perfect ghost device.
Yeah, it's perfect.
My millimeter and this thing. That's my favorite line I've ever said.
That's pretty great. Well, yeah, I think you improv like some of it also. Like we had it written
wow.
down, but it was I was just like, look, whatever comes out. Like I've never asked anybody to actually act out a scene before, so I will take
luck.
whatever I get.
Well, I was just channeling Zach Baggins. Like when I do this with my arms.
Right.
Because Zach Baggins literally does this. He's already jacked. He doesn't need to do this. But whenever he talks, like, especially when he like talks to a girl, he's like, "Oh, so it's really scary that you have to live here. Right? Like, it's okay. You're safe with me, and you're not safe with Zach Baggins." Anyway, everyone watch that show.
Yeah, I thought it was super good. How did you get JP sound? How did you get his sound in the first scene when he's all the way in the back?
So the way I had to do that, because we only had one microphone at the time. I don't even,
What?
was it even, it must have been our shotgun microphone. I think I had the shotgun mic by that point. We talked about not having the lights for a while. We also didn't have a microphone for a while. I was just recording into the Zoom recorder with its built-in. And so for JP, I was doing both. The Zoom recorder was on the table with a cable leading all the way back around the room to where the camera was, and then plugged into the shotgun mic pointing at Matt. So I had the shotgun mic and the internal microphones of the Zoom recorder sitting on the table next to JP.
With like a 50-foot
Wow.
XLR.
Yeah.
Jesus. Okay.
And like we put the Zoom like behind a book or something so you couldn't see it.
Right.
I
So
guess.
I wasn't monitoring the audio either because it was over there. So I just
no
crossed my
headphones to
fingers
plug
and
in.
hope for the
JP,
best.
actually, JP's house is a perfect filming house. Now that I think about it, like the
Yeah.
lighting was really good, and you guys didn't have lights. And
Well,
I've been there, and it's big and open. So he's got like the living room next to the kitchen, next to the dining room, and then the really great stairs.
It has
Like
a lot of
really
weird
great stairs.
decorations in it too, which were perfect
Which
for all the
helped.
Yeah,
random shots.
yeah.
You looking through the tiki mask or whatever.
Yeah.
So good.
which is all Ghost of. You must have watched an episode of Ghost of.
I did.
Okay.
When I was writing the script, I watched one on YouTube.
Okay.
I remember writing it at work because back when I worked at the KXAN, the news station that I didn't actually do anything at for half the time. I was just sitting waiting for the next assignment to come in or
I just had a
whatever.
brilliant realization.
What?
All of our favorite videos, like the people who make them, are ones that were inspired by other things. Like if you really like
Yeah.
Ghost Finders, you really like the Fallout one. I really like the Great British Bake Off.
Right.
Like
That's
some
true.
of our favorite ones, making and rewatching, are from like mimicking shows that we like.
This is kind of a relatively recent realization in life because I think I don't know if this is everybody, but when I was in film school, the big thing was like subverting expectations, right? Like Joss Whedon was popular at the time
Yeah.
because he would do these tropes and then it happened different than I thought it was going to, and like you had to I felt like it was necessary to do that. I was like, I can't do anything anybody expects.
Yeah.
But if you
It is
really
funny.
look at it from if you step back and look at like some of the best movies, all of the best movies, even made by people who objectively aren't good filmmakers, are just people trying to recreate what they enjoyed watching before. So like The Matrix is the only good Wachowski movie, and it's because they just beat for beat recreated the old kung fu movies they used to watch.
Yeah.
George Lucas doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, but he just retold old like Greek myths and stuff through
Yeah.
Star Wars, and now that's still going.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So yeah, I mean, it's really just kind of relevant to the video we released last week. At this point, the AI thing, it's all of humanity is just iterating on itself. Like
Yeah.
that's all we really do, and it's fine.
It's fine.
It's okay. That's
okay.
the whole point. That's what storytelling always has been. You just previously you would literally have to tell somebody the story and they'd have to memorize it and then retell it to somebody else. That's what storytelling was.
This is reminding me that I have the perfect feminist Hollywood movie pitch.
Oh, yeah?
That would like go over so well and be all the right kinds of controversial.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a dramatic retelling of the Jewish mythology Lilith. Because it's about the woman that didn't marry Adam. It's like the first woman that didn't marry Adam and then ran away and then got demonized for running away and then is associated with all of like the She's like the Jewish mythology
Right.
symbolism for like night and death and stuff, because the angels came back and told her like, hey, you got to go back and marry Adam. And she was like, no, I don't like that guy. He sucks and I'm better than him. And the angels were like, if you do that, we're going to kill every baby that like ever existed and also your baby or something. Because maybe she was pregnant. I don't remember. And she said no. And so the angel kills all the babies. And then it became Lilith's fault because she didn't return back. Not the angels, of course, obviously. So she's associated with like abortions and stuff, or miscarriages.
Yeah.
She's associated with like infantile death, which is awesome.
Are you
good
sure?
job.
Are you sure that story didn't inspire Runaway Bride or something?
I don't know what that is. It could be. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I probably not. It's a pretty like deep
I can
Jewish
see sometimes
myth.
people referencing it. It's one of those things that just like, didn't make it into the Bible because obviously they wouldn't have included that part.
Throw it in the Dead Sea.
She's referenced in the Bible a few times.
Is she really?
Like negatively, yeah, because the word Lilith means like night owl, and night owl is like listed there, and the owl is like a symbolism of death. I don't know. It's like she is in there like a few times in like Psalms or Proverbs,
Okay.
and the ones that don't matter. But yeah.
Just you'd gloss over.
It'd be such a good feminist Hollywood movie though, and it'd have all the drama, like just the
Are you
retellings.
talking about
of,
modernizing it, or you just literally tell that story
not
biblically?
Yeah. No, probably modernizing it. Like the movie.
She was gonna marry the man of her dreams.
No, not like 2007.
Okay.
Like no, like Passengers. Did you see Passengers? Is that Chris? Which
Chris Pine.
Chris Pratt. Bad
Okay.
Chris Pratt on the ship, and then he wakes up Jennifer Lawrence, and then they're stuck on the ship together or whatever. It's a bad movie. But like I'm
it
thinking
was a perfectly fine movie, which is why you don't remember it.
perfectly fine movie.
Acceptable.
But I'm thinking like that kind of version of this like modern fantasy sci-fi version. I think that makes
Okay.
more sense.
Interesting.
I mean, you just need to follow the beats, right? Woman runs
Yeah.
woman runs away and then is blamed, and then
I
a
bet
bunch
you'd
of
be
things
surprised
happen.
to find that some people probably have used that as
Yeah,
the
that's what I'm saying. I'd
foundation,
love to
because
see
I
it.
do think that's
It's a good story.
Yeah, an individual person in a vacuum isn't actually good at most things. Our species skill set is learning from past failures of our own kind.
It's probably true. Yeah.
I mean, it just works better to. Well, and I finally started accepting that as a writer, and it's made it so much fucking easier to write things.
Yeah.
Because I'm not worried about like. I'm trying to not be worried about doing something people haven't seen before, because it's usually it's also going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
Because it's being filtered through you. You're a different person than the person that did it last time. So even if you retell exactly the same story, you're going to do it differently than the other person did.
It also works every time. Like the Star Wars story is all the stories. Any hero story is the same story.
Right.
Disney tells the same story every time, and
yeah.
I like
Literally
it
every
every time. Every time it's good. I know exactly what's going to happen, and I'm like, yes, this is what I wanted.
I also think they were just probably maybe because they hadn't told every story yet, but I feel like ancient people were just better at telling stories because like they just had nothing else
I
to
think
do.
they just went all in on the ones they had. Probably
Yeah.
it was
They just went
Yeah.
hard on the stories.
Could be, yeah.
So that one was important. Anyway, I do think that some of my more favorite sketches have come from imitating something that exists because that foundation is already there. So then it's more just like that work is done. So now I get to refocus on things like I don't know, like the cinematography or something. Like I would like on the Ghost
sure.
Finders, I think it turned out better because I was just behind camera the whole time. I had two people that were good at acting, on screen, and we just got to focus on more stuff. I think because we got to lean on the fact that like the structure was already taken care of.
This is a total tangent, but you mentioned cinematography. Have you seen the fever dream that is Glee?
No.
Okay, there's not a lot of reasons to watch Glee other than that it breaks all the rules, but also follows all the rules. It's a very confusing show, but the cinematography is absolutely bonkers. It's the only like narrative show I've seen that uses like punch zooms regularly,
Right.
like to emphasize
It isn't a
character
mockumentary
reactions.
though. It's just
It's
like
not a mockumentary.
they have these whole planned big sweeping camera moves, and then like these random punch zooms on things,
Like-
focus changes back and forth.
Like they have cranes, so it takes place in a school,
Yeah.
right? So like a school set.
I
But
know of Glee. I'm
Yeah.
aware of Glee.
I
Yeah,
knew of I definitely didn't watch it for a while because it just had like this reputation of being
It's so good. It's
I don't know,
bad.
weird, bad. I don't know.
Just
I
kids singing
never knew.
covers of songs. You just makes you want to listen to the actual song instead
And
these children.
Right, that's what I always figured. She finally started showing me the show, and it's just
When you watch it
fucking
through
nuts.
my
It is
lens,
insane.
it's much better.
in like the best possible way.
What era are we talking? Was this like a 2006? This
I
like
think it-
2009?
Yeah, it
What
was
is this?
2000. Yeah, I think probably in the middle, like a
like
2007
5 to
start.
15 maybe, like
Yeah.
it covered that gap.
Sure.
And it was it's like it's this really, really high production value, strangely, except it's almost treated like an old like multicam sitcom where every episode they're just like, this is the theme of this episode, even if it doesn't relate to anything that has ever happened in the show before.
It's also just off the walls. Like I think most people could enjoy anything if they watched it through the right lens. And sitting down and watching Glee by yourself will never work. It's a weird, dumb, bad show in a lot of ways. But if you looked at it through my eyes, I think you could like it. Mostly because the things I notice are like the cinematography and also, I mean, just the ridiculous. Kyle has a complaint about Disney a lot, which is that Disney is cowards. It's not that they're making bad things necessarily. They just won't do
they're just a
anything
business.
different.
They're just not going to make
Yeah.
a decision that might cost them money. So
Glee isn't great, but it's anything but cowardice. It is brave in every aspect of its existence. And at the time it was being released, people hated it, right? Because the pilot episode, I think, was really controversial, but then people were like, let's give it a chance. Because it's about a bunch of high schoolers or whatever lip syncing songs really poorly. And there's like gay kids and all that kind of stuff. And
Oh yeah, I remember that was like a big drama, that it was like a show that had gay people in it. 'Cause
Yeah.
it was like 2008,
Right.
And like
Yeah.
it was still a big deal.
well, at the end of the first episode, I believe they do some sort of big gyrating number at the end, and like a pep rally, like all the Glee kids get together to show off that Glee is cool, and they end up doing like a exceptionally raunchy song, and they all just like grind up on each other in the gymnasium, and it's a very like, what is the right word? Satirical is not quite
well,
right.
it's
but
a
like,
very self-aware show. They know what they're doing, and they
Anyway.
is that what you were talking about?
yeah. They definitely do. But then, so like 5 episodes in, because it was being released and everyone's like, oh, we're going to watch this new amazing television show, singing, dancing, high production. And then like you could see the groups that were like dropping off, like the white conservative moms started getting really mad on Twitter. And then because they got mad, Glee would release an episode making an episode about their complaints. And then when all the haters dropped off, then the fans started complaining like, you're not doing this enough. So then they just put that in their show. So every episode, they just took inspiration from everyone else
Yeah.
complaining about the show to make
They
the
like
next
worked the
episode.
criticisms into the plot lines like in real time. So like it would like have
fun.
they would have all of this big blow up about a certain thing, and then like next week the show would address it because like an in-universe character would be making the same complaints.
They must have been writing it and making it quite fast.
They must
That's
have.
probably why it has that fast and loose. Because the more
Yeah.
time something is in pre-production and production, there's
Yeah.
more time for someone to mess with it and get scared. And
Yeah.
like,
It's a
I agree.
ridiculous show. They did a Rocky Horror Picture Show version, and it's high school kids with a high school teacher, multiple high school teachers, and they just put one of the students in the Rocky uniform. You've seen Rocky Horror
Yeah.
Picture Show, so he's in golden underpants, and they do a whole performance, and then it's also about the school telling them they can't because they're kids and they're naked.
You know what's weird? I think I've only watched Rocky Horror Picture Show in like theater class in high school.
Oh,
It's like a
really?
very high school thing. I don't know.
Huh.
It's just like, I don't
Huh.
know. At least it's like a sacred text in theater classes.
Yeah, that
so
makes
I think
sense.
it's fine.
I've only
Yeah.
seen it once.
He hated it. He hated
and
the
I
whole
didn't-
thing.
well, it's not good, right? That's kind of the point.
Did we have this exact conversation on the podcast last time?
We
Did
might
we?
have.
I don't remember.
know.
I remember having this exact
I was just, how is it? We're on the 4th episode. We can't be repeating stuff already.
Anyway, I kind of want to just show you clips from Glee just so
Okay.
you can understand the cinematography. Everything else I don't think you'll like at all.
That's fair. We can trade back and forth Ghost Adventures and Glee clips.
I'm going to like
make a
Ghost
playlist.
Adventures.
We'll make a playlist. Just go back.
Okay.
Yeah, I really
that
want to watch the
feels
early
fair.
ones now.
Yeah, I used to love that kind of stuff. Actually, I applied at a job in Rhode Island at a place I saw that was haunted on a TV show that talked about haunted places in the United States.
Yeah.
So I applied to work there. They did not hire me, but it was fun being there. I was like, is
Oh.
this the room? And they're like, yeah. And they were so bored with it. I was like, that's cool. Have you ever heard anything? He's like, customers complain and like occasionally wait staff quit. And I'm like,
So this,
I
this
have
is
a
kind of
job?
weird. I don't have a follow up to this, but I've just had the observation. I really like making comedy sketches about ghosts. Don't know why.
ghosts are funny.
It's just fun. It's just like this fun concept. I think I also kind of just enjoy like spooky horror themes to a
Yeah.
degree. I don't like horror movies most of the time.
No,
I didn't
spooky is fun,
grew up
though.
watching them. Yeah, but I like the idea of like Ghost Hunters is just like probably would be right up my alley. Actually, it's just the idea that like I guess because my brain knows deep down that it's all bullshit, but really doesn't want it to be. So anything where people are still pretending like it might not be real is like incredibly appealing to me for some reason.
You only like the kind of cheesy stuff, right? You didn't watch like American Horror Story or anything like that?
I watched it with girlfriends and stuff, but I never got into it.
Yeah, it's a weird show. I don't know. Now that I'm listing off all these things, I'm realizing that though bad, I enjoy them because they're brave. If anything, there's just no cowardice. They just went all the way into whatever. I mean, American Horror, anything that goes off the rails, I think I kind of just enjoy.
Yeah.
Just like, thanks for doing that. I appreciate that you did that. You just
I'm a big fan of that as well.
Totally lost your shit at some point and didn't care. It was just unapologetically ruined it.
Especially as things start to feel just more and more just watered down the same thing over and over again. It's definitely nice to see people that have like just tried, I guess. like just thrown caution to the wind.
You were talking about ghosts though. And I interrupted you. You're talking about ghosts and how you like making ghost stuff, which I think is really interesting.
I don't know exactly what the psychology is behind behind that, but like I lean toward supernatural comedy for some reason. It's just kind of like a fun combo. And I did it with JP a lot. Like it turns into almost like a trope, like an internal trope that JP was the guy that showed up in the weird supernatural videos. I just always went and did those.
That's why he has the spooked pose in the banner.
Oh yeah,
he's
the
like
current art banner.
He's like nervous because he's always in all the spooky.
I was like, make him look like a ghost hunter caught by surprise.
Yeah.
He was also being beset by ghosts in the last podcast we talked about with the Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah,
you're right.
He's always beset by ghosts.
That's always his thing. He was in the Ouija board video. He's in X-Files. He's in
he is the Ouija board.
The fortune cookie thing where they start
the
all
unfortunate cookies.
Yeah, anything like that.
So JP's the mystical one. That's fun.
Which is funny he's not the mystical one. He's the mystical.
He's the anti-mystical one. That's why he's in the mystical stuff.
He's the what is the word? The victim. He's the victim of mystical shit.
Yeah, right. Because he doesn't believe in any of it. That's fun.
And so I don't know. But for some reason it's always just been like it feels ripe for comedy for some reason. I don't know why.
You should lean into it. I think that's great.
Yeah, maybe.
That's fun.
It's Halloween. We should do a bunch of spooky stuff.
We should.
Yeah.
It is coming up on that
I
month.
love that kind of stuff.
We usually do that kind of stuff. Well, we did Phasmophobia the last time.
Why don't we do a Ghost Hunter's Phasmophobia thing? Like a Ghost Hunter, like a Ghost Hunter style Phasmophobia content.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how
Ghost Adventures within the Phasmophobia world.
I think it's just because it felt like we'd already done the Ghost Adventures thing, so I just wasn't
it was 10 years ago. Let's do it again.
But yeah, we could do it. We could just do another one.
Matt's so good at it.
We had a brief conversation at one point that we didn't follow up on about trying to make like a fake ghost hunting YouTube channel. Because there are those exist. There's like, there are channels where people
14 billion subscribers.
Right. And it's not even done with sincerity ever. It's
for children. It's just different type of children entertainment.
Right.
There's Mike opening his toys or whatever, and then there's the fake ghost hunting videos. Allison, what is more important than this right now?
I'm actually putting it down on the list of other really great creative ideas that we've had that would make a lot of money that we won't do.
Okay.
So that I can eventually bother you guys about it every couple of weeks and be like, remember this really good financially secure idea?
Look, one thing or another will happen, which is either this podcast will blow up and that'll be fine, or it won't, and then no one will know when we make this. So
that's true.
It's the idea was we were just gonna make a channel with you pretending to be one of those YouTubers. But then we were going to start just working in actual supernatural shit into it using like VFX like into the backgrounds and just try to make it this whole like this fake like as if we were making an actual just for money ghost hunting YouTube channel.
But the first like 20 episodes would be just like clearly someone in the other room banging on the wall.
Right.
So it would like lull people into a like false sense of like, oh, these kids are just goofing around.
Right.
And then episode 11, Kyle does some insane VFX thing.
Right.
It's like, everyone's like, wait, there was literally a person in that closet. Wait,
right. Yeah.
Hold on.
Start working it in so the audience sees it, but we don't.
Yeah.
At first.
We don't acknowledge it.
Yeah.
These are actually extremely successful on TikTok too. I actually got into a whole TikTok page. I got into a whole TikTok page. Yeah, I showed you. Remember, I was like, look at this one. It's probably real. And you're like, it's probably not real.
I'm exhausted already.
But I'm gullible. I'm really gullible. So ghosts have never been like off the table because things just like when the option is they put in a lot of work or it's a ghost, I'm like, it's a ghost.
This is why I think working in VFX stuff would be fun though, because most of those videos, it's always like, oh, the knife from the kitchen drawer just happened to fly in the direction where somebody could conveniently be standing and pulling a string, right?
Yeah.
But like if you were doing it with effects, you could set it up to like cut off those paths of logic so that then when somebody's trying to break it down, you're like, well, now I don't know.
There's a guy I saw
weird.
on TikTok. Have you seen the portal guy? There's a guy who has portals in his ceiling. And so he has a security camera pointing at him on his computer. And then so it's like 2 angles. So he's sitting on his computer, then you see a book fall past the security camera. So he goes, and he pulls out his phone, and from the security camera view, he's like, we got portals. Then there's like more books falling from the ceiling. Then we cut to his phone view.
Yeah.
He says the same thing twice. You can tell it's not the same thing, but it's like as if there's 2 angles of the thing.
Why not
and
just
then
reuse
books
the same
fall
audio?
through his ceiling? I don't know. But anyway, he's got all these people convinced that this man actually has his house is a ley line and there's books falling through his ceiling.
There's one that I stumbled on that I occasionally go back to of this guy who's just sitting in his apartment complaining because in his coat closet, by the front door, there's just a constant banging
Yeah, I've
sound.
seen that one.
You have seen that one.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he's doing it. I guess he just recorded the banging
Well,
sound.
is it just audio? Because then you could just overlay
just
it.
audio.
Just do that.
It's just
That's
audio.
it.
But it
It's
sounds
not
so...
even-
It's probably a ghost.
That one I didn't buy nearly as much as literally there's one of just old people living in a farmhouse. Old people who don't know how TikTok works, who don't know how, there's no way they know how editing works. They don't know how they would have done the knife
except
thing.
that there's 50 videos on their account, so they clearly do
They
know how
moved
TikTok
out.
works.
They moved out of the house.
Well, then they did it around the move or something. I'm just saying they clearly know how to do video content. They've been doing it a lot. If it was one account,
it's just they set up a camera. That's it. They don't do anything else. They just set up a camera, and the clips are all way too long, so they're not cut down.
so then
well.
it's easy.
My God. I mean, yes.
Or they have a grandchild
either-
that knows that it's...
Right. There's either
Yeah.
someone who's savvy who knows what's happening, or it's
ghosts are real.
And it feels like it's ghost. It feels like it's ghost.
It's also fun.
See, this would do so good.
I've turned a corner where
It cut him. He had a giant slash on his head. When the knife went across the kitchen and didn't hit his wife and it hit him, he had a
Right.
giant slash across his forehead all the way back.
But
people have
would've had
hurt
to cut
themselves way
himself.
worse for fame.
He's not getting money or anything. He doesn't know what the creator
Fame
fund
is better than money.
Nobody
these
knows his
days.
face. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong because it's the only thing that makes sense. But except for that it could be Ghost. That also makes sense. But he's not famous. Nobody knows his name. Nobody knows what's happening. But he did get a giant slash across his bald head that looked real. It was real. I'm just saying that's a lot of work to put in for an old man who's not making money.
I don't think that's
and
even the
moved out of
point
his house.
anymore. I feel like now that
Money's not the point.
well, no, it's we had TV shows for a long time, and now reality is replacing our entertainment, where you just watch people on Twitch, and there's augmented reality where you're watching someone's life, but it's clearly not their life. So the new Ghost Adventures is someone on TikTok pretending that their house is haunted, and no one really cares that it's not actually haunted. That
Right.
no one's
Right.
trying to debunk them or
Right.
discredit them. It's this is a fun show we're watching. We're all
Yeah.
watching this fun show, and we're getting scared together and pretending that it's real. And it's the brave new world we live in. So
Yeah.
let's be a part of it.
I agree. Plus, then you get to be Zach Baggins, which
I love it.
just feels like a plus.
Just saying, it is a lot of work. I don't know. I'm just saying, it feels real.
All right, well, let's send me that one, and I'll debunk it myself, because
Okay.
I've gotten pretty good at debunking ghost videos.
I think the
with all
biggest
my
thing
Ghost Adventures
working
experience.
against the realism of it is the account is called Haunted Farmhouse, TikTok. But you can change your name whenever you want.
Yeah.
So he probably started off as Bill.
For me, it's always just if they're clearly milking it, then it loses.
What does
it
milking it
immediately.
look like? That's
If
the
it
only
was
content that they post?
No,
or what's
you would-
milking it? He's
if-
not doing interviews.
If this
or,
happened in real life,
He moved
you would
out of his
accidentally
house?
catch footage once. You'd have the one video, and
Yeah.
that's it. But it's not what happens, right? It keeps happening conveniently.
because you want to keep catching it. You don't catch it multiple times. So you set up cameras literally everywhere to see if you can catch any of it. And then you post what you find. Because it's really happening.
This is why Bigfoot's real, because we have the one video of Bigfoot from back in the day. He
That's
didn't
the
milk it
best-
at all. He didn't say
the best argument
let's do
I've
it
heard for
again.
it.
We have one.
That's true.
If it weren't for the guy who wore the suit coming out and showing that he had
Yeah,
done
but
it.
Nobody
the
believes
CIA
that
has
anyway.
done way worse.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, all this is telling me is that this is also another $1 million idea that we've just left sitting in our box of them.
Yeah, actually,
Social
funny. The only
engineering.
$1 million idea we don't have is making comedy sketches. Isn't that funny? Isn't that a funny thing? That's the only thing that's not making us isn't that a crazy idea?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I thought that was funny.
This podcast is actually a documentation of the absolute death of the channel. So strap in.
You're
Gonna scare them. They're gonna leave before we have a chance. Anyway, I wish I didn't believe in haunted things, but I do. Actually, I told you the story about how I didn't let Kyle do the Ouija board for the Dossie video.
When we
and
were
how-
first going to do the Ouija board,
I refused to let him.
Because I saw one in I remember I got the idea when we were just in like a board game shop and there was just one there and I was like, that's a thing that is objectively funny because it's really I think the reason supernatural stuff is good for comedy is because people take it so seriously.
Yeah. And so not.
It's not real, I guess, is what it is. It's like it's incredible. People take it incredibly seriously. It definitely doesn't exist, and that combination of things is just funny by itself. So yeah, I saw the Ouija board and I was like, that would be fun. But Allison was still kind of like you were still like part of the Christian group that you were in at the time. And
I wasn't.
You weren't at that point?
You were still spooked about
I'm trying to help you out here.
No, I know. No, I was just not cool with it. I was out of the Christian group, but had never fully processed whether or not I believe in that kind of stuff, and still can't. Like, I still I can't.
Well, eventually I researched it a bunch for the video, and then I showed her. I was like, look, okay, so this was made by Hasbro. This literally didn't exist beforehand. They made the name up. They created it. Also, it was like a wholesome family activity for a while. There are Norman Rockwell paintings of like families using the Ouija board. It was a thing you would do on Saturday to talk to your dead uncle and then go to church the next morning.
It was before the Satanic Panic.
It was, it was specifically, I think it was... The Exorcist, I think, was the movie that ruined it. It was literally that one movie because they used it as a prop to talk to the demon or whatever in the movie, and then Christian pastors decided it was another good tool to scare people, I guess, and then it was ruined forever and associated with demons. But literally, for most of its existence, it was just this like casual supernatural tool because there was this whole spiritualism movement apparently in like the early 1900s America, where people were just into ghosts as like a hobby. Yeah.
I went at a seance room next to the parlor.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I know what my problem is, which is that the way my mental illness manifests, my OCD, the reality of something is irrelevant. It is about how much I can spin it in my head into reality.
And I'm not going to make fun of you for it. It's just
you don't have to. I'll make fun of me for it. But
invented, like it was made up for this purpose.
That's all that has to happen, right? Like now it's like we can't use Ouija boards because separating it from the reality of what it was created for, it's not used for that anymore. And manifesting is an OCD's person literal worst nightmare because it's all they do. It's just all like manifesting up there. So
like the more you think about it, the more true it becomes.
Right, and it's a really toxic mindset you have to unlearn because it just makes you feel like those things are real. Like if you think too hard about it, you give yourself cancer. If you think too hard about it, you call in the demons, right? Like if your intentions are clear, it can make it a very real reality for you. And then it doesn't matter what is real. Now you have excuses for the things that are happening. So it's like we sit around and we do a little Ouija board. And Matt calls upon like Uncle Dave or whatever, and it's fine. But then like 2 weeks later, something weird happens. That's when the OCD gears start like kicking in. And now I'm looking for every little piece of evidence to back up my very unrealistic like idea that has formulated.
It's just
and
like
that's what happens.
Human pattern recognition run amok, basically.
That's exactly that's exactly my problem. It's like a pattern recognition issue and like needing to touch things or do things or whatever to make it like
right.
I didn't know that people didn't feel that way actually about things like that people didn't feel like you could close a door wrong. Yeah. I don't have it bad enough that I like need to do it over and over again, but like I didn't know people didn't just have vibes around literally every single thing. Like
I
will do something and then go upstairs and be like, I didn't push that chair in right. Not
this
like
is why people need to talk about this kind of stuff more, because then you start realizing like what's different, I guess, about the way your perception works compared to other people.
Or what's exactly the same as about your perception that you thought was super different.
Right.
It's like, oh no, everyone thinks that.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just helpful for perspective and just for dealing with some things that you may not even realize are like causing you problems.
Pushing that aside though, and talking about how you were talking about how ghosts are like popular, right? Ghost content is popular.
Yeah.
I think it's because so many people are really undecided, which means that it gets all the fun and all the drama of being real and then all the relaxation of being fake if you need it to be. So like ghost stuff.
It kind of offers just like a different thing to pay attention to.
Also, people are addicted to adrenaline.
Like, so. You're right. It's an adrenaline thing, and I also think it's kind of the same thing that like Christianity and it's supernatural stuff just lets you, it just gives you an alternative thing to like blame almost. And I think it's kind of cathartic in a weird way. We watched through all of Stranger Things, and I was just thinking like that particular feeling that's present in like 80s supernatural stuff, or even just in like 80s drama or cult films, is like this sense that like everybody knew something was wrong, but just nobody really knew what it was yet. And so they were desperately trying to place it. And so I think that's probably what a lot of these cult horror films came out of, is because it gave you like a face. It gave you like a creature to apply this like feeling of dread to. And now it's 2022 and we know what the problems are. And
but
it's not nearly as fun. I would prefer it be an alternate universe that monsters are leaking out of.
Something you could kill. Something a plucky group of children could kill.
Yeah,
I think that's really insightful. And also it feels more valid. Like being afraid of a sickness you can't see and like follow and like understand is so much worse than like being afraid of a demon that's like, okay, this is worth it. Like the fear is valid. The
like a demon should
reaction.
be scarier, but I like the idea that I could feel safer simply by holding a bat with a bunch of nails in it, right? Yeah. But like that doesn't help me against any of the problems that capitalism forces me into today.
Like, I feel like a crazy person doing crazy people things and being constantly in fear. But if it's a demon, it's like, okay, I get to do that. But if it's like a I don't know, the fear of a potential World War III, it's like that's not nearly
like Joyce in Stranger Things, sucks. Right? She's validated because like the stuff, the creepy monsters that she's afraid of end up being real. But here it's like you have that same kind of person being afraid reasonably of just the world around them, but then everybody's constantly just being like, that's just the way it is. Like, what are you afraid of? There's nothing you can do, even if it is bad.
Yeah, that's a great point. So insightful.
I think that's partially why. I think that's part of it, honestly.
Yeah. That's why Facebook is successful, because there's demons all over Facebook. You just find what the demon of the week, and you're like, oh, that's it. That's why.
That's true, actually. I do think
it's definitely an addicting premise. Demons fill like every gap in like some kind of logical thinking that's just like not there.
Well, even
like,
just metaphorically, this is why this is the conservative like conspiracy theory
funny.
pipeline. This is why that's so appealing too, because it just sticks an identity on why you're feeling bad, and that's much easier.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes it's Sunday night. You don't want to go to sleep, and you don't know why. You know? Sometimes it just happens, folks. It's not immigrants.
But it might be a Victorian woman haunting your bedroom.
That's way more fun.
It's also hard because Halloween is coming up and Mom was just saying she wants to dress up as something scary. And I'm like, that's near impossible. Like dressing up as something scary is
like literally
difficult.
Like, to scare people.
Yeah, but it's like hard to do. Yeah. Like unless you have full on like practical makeup and like a lot of money, nothing is like scary. Like that you can like, what is the word I'm looking for? I don't know.
That's why I hate monster movies. It's like you just add like fangs and eyeballs and like slime coming off of something and like more claws. It's like, I'm just not afraid of you, bro. I'm sorry.
The thing for me is definitely like weirdly proportioned humans, I think gets me more than anything when it comes to like spooky visuals. Like if you have to see the monster, it's much creepier to be like, I'm trying to like the first thing that comes to mind weirdly is we've been watching the new Lord of the Rings series, which I could have a whole conversation about, but I was just thinking they're interacting with like a wizard guy right now who might be Gandalf. I don't know. They haven't really said, but whenever he's like standing next to the others creatures, they've somehow made him look like this weird towering thing with like his arms like kind of hanging and like.
Who is this?
The wizard guy in the one that fell from the sky.
Oh yeah.
Like he just looks weirdly proportioned and it makes him look alien. Yeah. And I've seen similar things used in like horror movies where like
Slender Man.
Slender Man I guess kind of has the same vibe where it's just like a little bit too tall, a little bit too long. I actually think the monster in Stranger Things, like in the first season at least, when you don't see it as much, has this same kind of vibe because it's like you just see it from a distance. It doesn't have a face. It's like shaped wrong. Attack on Titan weirdly pulls this off really well.
That's my thing. Big.
Well, but it's not just that they're big.
It's definitely that they're too big.
It's both. It's that and they're proportioned wrong, right? Like if it was a perfectly proportioned large person, that would be one thing. But it's also the fact that it's just like every single one of them, they have somehow distorted some part of their body, where it's just like their arms are too thin or their torso is too squished or there's too many teeth, especially compared to the rest of the cartoon characters that they're fighting. And that seems to be, to me, that's much more effective, where it's like it's the uncanny valley, I guess is what I'm describing actually. If you take something familiar and you make it just unfamiliar enough that it like it's off-putting, and it just triggers like the flight or fight response in your head.
Uncanny Valley stuff doesn't freak me out, but I think because I don't really experience the Uncanny Valley a lot. Things
Really?
either look like people or don't. To me,
Interesting.
there's like the middle ground is not something that like I feel like I understand super well. Like I get the Attack on Titan things, but they actually just look mutated. Like they look uncomfortable is kind of why I don't like them. Like they just
yeah.
look gross. Like
yeah.
deformed, right? Like, and deformed makes me uncomfortable because I can like kind of imagine being it. Maybe
But like
more
if you
than
see
anything.
like a figure standing at the end of the hallway at night, is it worse if it's just like clearly a man, or is it worse if it's like a man but also he's like just too long? You know, like does that make
nothing,
far too
nothing is scarier than a man.
I mean, yeah, that's why I'm asking genuinely.
Okay. So yes, I do think the proportional thing is important to like spooky, but that's different than Uncanny Valley to me.
Really?
Yeah, because it doesn't look like a person. It looks like a deformed person, and deformities are kind of scary, like in the scary monster world version of them.
Yeah.
But not like.
I guess to me it still feels like Uncanny Valley because my brain's trying to
No,
make
Uncanny
it.
Valley is like when it's like is that a person or is it not a person?
It's when your brain is trying to make it make sense because it's close enough that it should be able to, but it won't. It feels like, to me, it feels like trying to grab a bar of soap or something and it not quite slipping out. It's like my mind trying to be like, this should be real, but it's not for some
I don't
reason.
experience
and I
that
can't.
a lot.
No.
I experience it with every stupid attempt to like bring a dead person back to life or deep fake them younger
Oh,
in every
yeah.
TV show. It just makes me so angry. I can't
That
look
just
at
feels
it.
very clear to me though. Like, oh, they messed that up. Like there is no like my brain doesn't really feel like it's trying to put it together. It's like, oh, they did that wrong.
I could see how it would
that's
be.
wrong.
I could see how that would happen. I don't experience this only because I'm really deep into working on that stuff from the other end, so I know exactly what's happening when it's happening.
Yeah.
So I can see the seams, I guess, more than I can see like the end result, which is interesting because you actually used to talk about, you used to watch horror films all the time as
All
a
the
kid
time.
because you were really into the makeup effects. And you
Oh,
talked
yeah.
about it
Oh,
being...
so sorry. I didn't just watch horror. I watched like specifically slasher, like
Right.
gory stuff, like Saw. I watched
And
all the Saws. And
You've
I loved
mentioned that
them.
it didn't that you never like registered it as real because you could like see through it
Yeah,
almost.
because it was fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
And fun. And I'd be like, oh, I want to know how to do that.
As a kid, I couldn't because I couldn't separate it in the same way.
Also, I
but
was addicted to the adrenaline.
I can now because now they use so much VFX stuff, and now that's my thing.
Yeah.
So like we were watching Stranger Things also, and like even if the effects are really good, my brain can be like, that just switched to a ragdoll. Like
Yeah.
I saw it change to a digital double. So now it's not as like when they're all like bending in half or whatever. It doesn't
Yeah.
hit me the same way that I think it probably would otherwise.
Blood doesn't bother me because of that reason.
Yeah,
blood is
that
like,
makes
I know
sense.
how to do fake blood and it's too fun. Like, you know, everyone on set's having like just the best time coming up with like fake blood splurting shots and
Yeah,
like fake arms
that
and
makes
that
sense.
kind of stuff. Like, I like that because I don't feel it. I don't feel it like people do. I feel it when it has that weird psychological trap of like there's a contraption on her jaw in Saw and like she has to like unlock it before it like pops her jaw off.
Oh,
That one I felt not because like I could feel it in my jaw, but just because it's scary. It's like a time. It's a deadline.
yeah.
I hate deadlines.
The real horror.
But there's one where she like has to chop off her arm because she needs like a pound of flesh to make up for what she did. So you have to like chop. You have to like whoever puts in the most body like amount into a thing will
Yeah.
like the cage will unlock or something.
That reminds
So
me
she's
of-
just like one dude is like cutting at his stomach and I'm like crazy
I
like
wouldn't do
thinking
that.
about how to. No, it's the stupidest idea. But thinking about how to like
I guess excess.
watch it.
I guess
Yeah.
it's how close to home it feels for me is really what it is. Because like what you're describing is like it's like visceral, but it's so far removed from anything that I could possibly imagine in
Yeah.
real life.
Yeah.
And I think the closer it is to day to day, it definitely hits me harder. And your the deadline thing reminded me. I was just Brian David Gilbert. He's the guy that does these videos. I forget for Polygon. He does like these breakdown videos of where he like hyper analyzes different pop culture stuff. Or he
Jeez,
used to.
so
He doesn't
long.
work for them anymore. He has his own channel where he does comedy stuff, but he also does like horror stuff sometimes, which I didn't know.
Oh, interesting.
And he had one video where it was like the like I earned $30,000 in 1 month and you can too. It was like a mock one of those, except it like disintegrated into some weird horror premise. But But one of the comments said something about like, oh yes, spreadsheet surrealism or something, and I was like, that's my thing.
That's scary.
That's what I like. This weird like mundane combined with like, if you can combine like an office cubicle with eldritch horror, that's like exactly right on the line for me.
Interesting.
Oh, that's the back rooms.
Yeah, I guess so. I've never actually watched those.
No, there's not. It's just you just get lost in it. It's just
SCP stuff kind of works well for me because of that too, because it's like bureaucration around horror.
Yeah.
Like horror
have you not
monsters.
played Control?
I don't think so.
You need
What
to
is
play
that?
Control.
Is that a game?
It's a game from I don't know who it's from, but it is. It's gosh, what is it? It's what you're saying. It's bureaucracy horror. It's
What are you afraid of?
In movies and stuff?
Yeah, just like any of that, because mine ended up being like big things, and his were
just like the full on
his were office deadlines.
Yeah.
My favorite horror movie is The Witch, which is
you mentioned that a
Really?
lot.
yeah,
Nobody liked The Witch.
I did.
You liked The Witch. That's true. Okay,
I love
sorry.
The Witch.
I didn't watch it because nobody.
And some people liked it because they gave Robert Eggers, The Lighthouse and what is it called? The one that just came out, The Northman. So people are letting them make movies.
Interesting.
But anyway,
Yeah. Why is it scary?
it's like it. I don't even know if it's scary. I just liked it because it's like the premise is like a horror movie set in puritanical America, where like they just accept the premise that like all the folk tales were real.
Oh,
like,
okay.
witches actually live in the woods.
Oh.
Like Satan is
Okay.
actually trying to ruin your life. So it's not like, there isn't like that question that most horror movies have of like, wait, are ghosts real? Are they not real? It's like, no, it's fact. There's witches
Just a
out
living-
there. You just got to
Okay,
watch
yeah.
out for them.
Jesus.
So it's just like, it's just grim reality, like
Yeah.
very deep dirt reality.
Yeah.
And the witches are also equally as real, which I love. When you can ground like folk, like the Witcher series is the same way. Where
Oh,
like
really?
they don't have just monsters that are like, I'm a monster and I'm from space. It's like, no, this evolved out of like this specific, like, there's like a Wikipedia page 10 pages deep
Yeah.
of like the evolution of the monster. I need the grounding of the scary
Huh.
thing before I become afraid of it.
I also like that concept, I think, but like from a world building perspective, it's actually the Cabin in the Woods was like one of the first horror movies that I watched because it's just a nice like ease
First one I
in.
showed him.
It's a great first horror movie and it's a great last horror movie.
Yeah,
It's
because
good
it's well, I
because
don't
it
wanna
references
spoil
all the
anything,
other
but
ones. Yeah. But the implication. Well, I'm going to spoil it. Okay. So if you haven't watched it, here we go.
Yeah. Seriously though, you should not listen to this if you haven't seen it because Cabin in the Woods is very good.
I agree.
So.
very
you should
good.
definitely go watch it first if you haven't seen it and have any intention that you
And
might.
was it Chris Hemsworth had the Hemsworth
I think so.
Renaissance? He
It
just like
was.
plays a jock.
Yeah.
In like a teen movie.
It's
It's
pretty
funny.
great.
Yeah.
The idea that the world was once just dominated by horror movie creatures is just really interesting to me and gave me this whole idea that I really want to create a prehistoric horror film one day. It's this weird, vague, nebulous idea that I have that I haven't really nailed down. But it also reminds me of there was a YouTube video I found at one point that it was like the world's oldest recorded song played on the world's oldest known instrument.
Oh God, I hate
And it's just
that.
this like
Which is horrible.
It's this like
no.
haunting sound, but for some reason when I was listening to it, all I could picture was just like the guy that would have been playing that song and the world and the unknown earth that he was on,
Yeah.
and like just not knowing anything. I don't know. It just really took me back to that moment of like this man alone sitting on a rock somewhere playing this song, not knowing what the sky was, not knowing how big the world was, just not knowing shit, just having to exist. And
It's we've talked about this before. I can't do space, right? I
Yeah.
can't. I have that
Yeah.
kind of anxiety, and this sounds like this sound the
there's
thing
a
he's
name for
referring
this fear.
to. Yeah,
don't know
I
what
have
it
all the
is.
weird fears, like
The
all
fear
the
of feeling
existential.
really small compared to everything
The
else.
Abyss.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the right word for it for sure. And that sound sounds like all of my fears. So like hearing it, it's beautiful, but it actually gives me like the
Yeah.
like
But then there's also that part of it where it's like, well, we're here now though, like despite that man.
that kind of freaks me
right?
out
Like-
too, because we're not gonna be
Like
here.
we made it. Well, yeah, but somebody else might be 2,000 years from now.
That scares me so much. I was thinking about 2050 the other day, and it freaked me out. Just the idea.
Tomorrow.
I just
No.
think it'd be fun doing like a horror movie with that, like in that setting because a lot of horror movies are set in a very known world
Yeah.
now where you like take one thing and twist it.
Yeah.
But the idea of just being alone in the abyss and not knowing what's out there.
Yeah.
But just knowing that it's any of it could kill you at any given moment.
You're describing The Witch, by the way. Everyone should watch The Witch.
That's good. I should.
we should
Apparently,
watch it.
I need to watch that because it might be really good reference for
It's
what
incredible.
I'm picturing.
Oh, also, speaking of The Witch, it's also not just like that folk tales are real. It's also like Christianity is real, which when you think about it, like if like the actual stories of Christianity are real, it's also horrifying.
No, I know
Yeah,
because
demons
I thought
are
it was
horrifying.
I thought it was real at one point. I know how horrifying
Yeah,
it is.
it's just like it's very kitschy and cute. Like demons are like red guys with like pitchforks. Like if you think about what actual demons are,
Yeah.
there's nothing scarier on earth.
No, when
No.
you're in it, when you believe it's true, it is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
Like it was. I had dark days as a child back when it was taught to me that was just how the world functioned. So yeah, no, anything where you like play into that as being real is definitely gonna
Do you know what shadow
be
people
fucking
are?
horrifying.
I've heard of shadow people.
I see shadow people, which are there's two things because they've been studied in both areas completely differently. There is the like myth lore aspect of it, which is that they're like weird planeswalker demon creature things. And then there's the scientific thing, which is that there's this like hyperactive part of your brain during high stress moments that turn things into humanoid things as a way to like cope or whatever. But I've seen them my whole life in like spans of like 3 months every few years. So like for 3 months I'll see them and then they'll go away and blah, blah, blah. But when I was Christian, I told my Christian friends that I saw shadow people sometimes. And the last one I saw freaked me out because I was driving. I'm always driving. Like it's always, I think we read something recently about how like movement correlates to it because I'm almost always driving.
The eye vibration
It was
thing.
Ethan.
Oh, okay.
But no, there's like there was a recent study that talked about how like eye vibrations affect shadow people visions because they're like always, it doesn't matter. But I only ever see them in the car. And so I was telling my Christian friend about it and he fully convinced me that I was like I don't know the right word.
Powers.
Yeah.
Like you could see things that other
Like I
people
could
couldn't.
see into the
Wow,
mini
yeah.
in-between dimension
You're
of like
gifted.
where the demons are because you don't like believe in ghosts because there's heaven and hell, but the gifted is the wrong word. Like yes, gifted, but for bad things.
I think cursed. The word is cursed. That's the
yeah,
word.
thank you. Yes, cursed. But that's not what he said. He just sort of implied that like I was seeing extra things that might potentially exist
Yeah.
that could be like either angels or demons. Those are the only two options. So like either a good thing or either bad things. And I was fully convinced that that's what was happening. But like, what do you do with that? I couldn't talk to them. They just scared the shit out of me. Just like you're chilling and you're like, and that's it. That happens for 3 months on and off. And I haven't had them in a long time. So
Yeah.
I'm probably due for them.
That's the problem. If you're looking for them, you won't see them. That's why, like, if you try to
Exactly.
go ghost hunting, you're not going to find a ghost. The ghosts prey on the,
I will.
people that don't want to see the ghost.
I'll find. That's how my brain works. So
You'll
if I'm
find a
expecting it, I'm gonna be like, oh, there it is. I'm gonna go. Goodbye.
Well, any is that it? Any
That might be
last
it.
things about the ghost?
I guess
Finders
so. I'm
video?
glad we had a spooky. It's not even October yet.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that we have fall just began. I'm glad we had a spooky episode.
Happy early Halloween.
We'll revisit spooky in October.
Yeah.
We actually have some whole October themed videos. We'll go over those in October.
Ooh, we have
Yeah.
to dress up for.
Oh, that
whatever
for the podcast. Just yeah.
comes
Oh,
out
that's a
on
great
random
idea.
costumes on.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should definitely cover more of the spooky videos for October for sure.
We have like the unsolved mystery one.
Actually, leave suggestions because we just have to randomly pick one every single time we come in here. So if there are specific videos you want to hear behind the scenes information about, let us know in the comments, and we'll prioritize picking those first. As particularly spooky ones. Pick your favorite spooky ones, and we'll do those for October. And yeah, bye.
Credits.